I spent more time on farming websites this week than I normally do, and I came to you today with a diagram. So go ahead and check this out. This is off of one of the farming websites, okay, a little diagram. Okay, and what we see here is an event like this, the word's going forward. Some of you today, God's gonna speak something to you about you, and if you're fertile soil, that seed hits, and it starts to grow, but you can't even see it yet. Come on, we're in Ohio. You've been by a field with corn. You've been by a field with wheat, right? You know what this is. They plant, they scatter the seed, and the field just looks like a big empty field, but it's alive. If you'll stick around to the 4th of July, you'll find it'll be knee high. Come on, somebody. Knee high by the 4th of July. That's not word, but it'll preach. You know what I'm saying? You can't just, the day you plant it, you don't expect a harvest. It's gonna take some time, some cultivation, some consistency, some patience. It's gonna take some more work. And so the seed is planted in your mind, in your hearing, and yet then the stalk, which ultimately the stalk feeds nutrients, right? There are leaves that come off, which are part of photosynthesis. Eventually something new forms. You gotta think about this when you hear anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. Because often what God will do is he'll ignite something, or he'll connect seed to soil, but he'll give you a vision of a harvest. But the harvest doesn't just happen. You can see the harvest, but the harvest is not yet here. It's gonna take a while. The stalk has to feed nutrients, the leaves have to do photosynthesis, and ultimately a new creation forms at the top of this crop that eventually can be harvested and ultimately bring a return. Okay, well, what does this look like in the life of a believer when you're in a moment like this and the seed of the word hits your heart? What does this growth process look like? It starts with see it. See it. There are some truths that are hiding in plain sight. And in moments like this, often there will be something as you slow yourself down and make yourself receptive to what God would say. There are moments like this, if you could see it, light bulbs are going on in the room. Light bulbs, God's showing you something. He's showing you something. He's showing you maybe a lie you've been believing. He's showing you a pattern that you need to shake. He's showing you something, a belief that needs to be revisited. You see it. Once you see it, then there's a process of believing it. This is one of the issues, I think, with a lot of people, especially if you've been around church a while, is you start to learn the right answer. And just because you know the right answer doesn't mean you believe it. Right. Just because you can answer with it, and you can answer with chapter and verse, like, you know you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. But do you believe it? Like, I mean, I know that's the right answer. But do you believe it? I know I'm the head and not the tail, but I feel like the tail. I know that the spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives inside of me. Do I believe that? Then why do I always feel like I'm at such a disadvantage? If I've got the spirit that raised Jesus up out of the grave, is pumping through my veins, why am I acting like I'm a second-class citizen? Why do I slump my shoulders when I walk in the room? Why do I have all these self-defeating things about what I can't do if I actually believe that? I mean, you know the right answer. Greater is he who's in you than he who's in the world. I just don't know if you believe it. I know you know it. I know you can quote it. We can do that. Do you believe it? So to go from I see it, I felt like I had no value, and then I see that I'm God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do the good work that he planned for me to do long ago. Yeah. If I need to believe it. And this is a problem, is because for many people, the actual crops that are growing up in your mind are things that have been there a long time. Some things that were planted directly and some indirectly. Somebody told you you weren't valuable. Maybe they literally said that, or they showed you by their behavior you had no value. So this God's masterpiece, which one are you? A mistake or a masterpiece? Which one? Am I the righteousness of God? Did God make Jesus, who had no sin, to be sin for me that I might become the righteousness of God? Or am I the sum total of my failures? So you got to go from uprooting the lie. Because, by the way, this whole process of seed, stalk, head, harvest, James talks about this in James chapter 1 when he says temptation is like a seed. And when it grows, it leads to sinful action. And sinful action, when it's fully formed, produces a harvest of death. So there's all kinds of things that can grow up in a harvest. And this is why often people feel the exhilaration of the event of the seed hitting the soil, and they feel something alive beneath the surface, but they don't take it all the way to harvest. And so they walk out and they allow the cares of life and things to crowd it out. And you see what I'm saying? Past behaviors, lies that the enemy puts in your head, to now those lies have given you a body of evidence that gives you something you believe. And so the seed has no place to grow. So I got to go from seeing it to believing it to living it, to live it. So if I see it and I believe it and I live it, oh, now I got to play on words here. Then I have it. Come on. Help me out. I'm a dad. A little dad joke here and there isn't going to hurt anybody, okay? Look at this, Philippians 4:8-9. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right. In other words, the seeds of truth. But you got to fix your thoughts on it. You got to see it. You got to believe it. You got to repeat it. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Verse 9, look at this. Keep putting into practice all that you learned and received. Live it. Keep living it, and eventually it becomes a habit. And so if I'll see it, I'll believe it, I'll keep repeating it, I'll keep living it, and it turns into a habit, then I become it. We tend to expect going right from see it to become it. I see the vision, now I am the vision. I see the healing, now I am the healing. I see the transformation, I am the transformation. Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You think renewing of your mind was that one time at that one service when you saw the light? No, man, that's like tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, 10 times a day, however many you need to plant a new field that produces a new harvest. So I'm tired of watching the enemy snatch up people's seeds. I'm so tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I can't see it one more time of somebody who allowed it to be crowded out and then went back and said, oh, it was bad seed. Au contraire. It was not bad seed. The seed was fine. The word is true, but the truth doesn't set you free unless you let it get all the way up and grow full grown. And by the way, you are not a bystander in this process. Yeah, there's some mystery in the soil. Yeah, there's some ecosystem things that God makes happen, and it's all him. But God expects you to participate in your own growth. If you don't keep the thorns out and the rocks out, and you don't fix your thoughts, I mean, Paul takes a lot of time here to explain to us how we need to be thinking and doing so that this thing can grow to full maturation.